hosts John McCaskill and Will Schneider. Here we focus on helping men and those with men in their lives solve some of life's complex challenges through understanding the practices of mindfulness and how they can help. Each episode is in an environment free of judgment and criticism, with a focus on authenticity and inner peace. Let's dig in.
All right, failure. Failure has been one of the biggest teachers of my life. Failure has taught me lessons and given me experiences that no amount of money could ever buy. That's from our guest on today's show, William Branum, former Navy SEAL, CEO of 5 SEAL Secrets and Naked Warrior Recovery Supplements. Hello, everyone. I'm Jon McCaskill. Welcome to Men Talking Mindfulness, or MTM, where each week my co-host, Will Schneider, and myself, we work to break down and demystify an aspect of mindfulness and make it meaningful to you. Today, we'll be talking with William Branum, and Will Schneider, my co-host, about the SEAL secrets, vulnerability, overcoming challenges, and growing and recovering. But first, I'm going to turn it over to Will for some announcements. Will, how you doing, brother?
Great. Well, I'm doing well. Thank you so much. First announcement, everybody. It is Jon McCaskill's birthday over there. I think he's 45. So happy
45.
birthday to our 45 to our co-host, Jon McCaskill. We'll have a little birthday celebration later in the show with William, who we're going to bring on in a moment. But first, a couple announcements. Hey, if you are looking to access, understand mindfulness, and deepen your practice of mindfulness, we still have openings for our Mindfulness Adventure Retreat in Durango, Colorado on September 16th to the 19th. This also includes, if you sign up for this retreat, a 4-week post-retreat integration program, which we're going to work virtually. So we're not just leaving you, dry with all these amazing epiphanies and insights from the retreat, but we're actually going to work for 4 weeks after the retreat so you can experience mindfulness on a deeper level and begin to weave it into your life. Instead of it being an idea, it actually becomes a way of being and experience for you. And also, hey, you need help managing your money? Long Financial Group is here to help you maximize your money and make it work for you. Head to longfg.com and set up a call with EJ and his expert financial advisors who have been helping their clients maximize their money for over 25 plus years. You actually might remember EJ. He's been a friend of mine.
Well, I think we may have lost Will there. All right. So, hey, it's Jon McCaskill here, and I'm just going to continue rolling until Will comes back. But, hey, so what Will was covering was that EJ had been on the show. EJ Long, a financial advisor. We've had him on the show. Fantastic stuff. He's got 25 plus years in that world. Solid guy. And we'd love for you to, if you need help managing your finances, log on to longfg.com. So, all right, that said, we'll wait for Will to come on the show. We'll bring William Branum on the show now, and I'm going to go through your bio here. All right, let me go ahead and disconnect Will while he figures things out. William, welcome to the
show. Thanks for having me finally. It only took like a year and a half to get on your show.
Hey, man, we're exclusive. We do, but it's
I like it.
Man. Look, what time is it out there in Hawaii?
It's 6:40 right now.
6:40. Well,
I totally planned on getting up earlier this morning, and I have no idea that my 5 o'clock alarm did not go off, or I just turned it off and don't remember it. So that's my excuse. The alarm didn't go off. The dog ate my homework.
There you go. Well, hey, and there's Will back. He's back. So welcome back,
Okay,
Will.
thank God. Oof.
I know you're operating in a different place, so your connectivity may come in and out. But bottom line is I covered a quick down and dirty on Long Financial, brought William up on the show, and now I'm going to go through his bio. So William is a retired Navy SEAL and SEAL sniper instructor. He is the founder of Naked Warrior Recovery, a CBD company focusing on he is a public speaker and coach where he shares his 5 SEAL secrets and draws from his 26 years of experience in the SEAL teams to train CEOs and other high performers. From the battlefield to the boardroom, he teaches leaders how to lead like they are leading a SEAL team. He focuses on the culture of the organization to help turn employees into team members. So it's my birthday. All right. Let's get naked. Let's go.
Yes, here we
Whoa.
Yes.
Do I have to do
let's
that
the
too?
show.
My microphone will fall out of my shirt. Hold on. That's not the kind of naked we're talking about.
Are we not
Oh,
That's
so we should keep shirts on, William? Is that you don't do this like when you do like CEOs? They don't get naked. No.
well, it depends what CEO we're talking about.
Oh, okay. So we should. Okay, I'm gonna put my shirt back on. All right.
Teamwork, team player stuff. Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll spare everybody the.
All right.
moment
You guys
there and
are
get back
boring.
into our shirts.
I'm just kidding. Oh, I can't even hear you anyway.
So,
All right.
now that we're
Wait,
all
where'd you go?
jazzed up-
There we are. Okay.
now
Thanks,
we're all
guys.
jazzed up after ripping our shirts off.
Wow, you guys did that fast too. You were ready to get naked.
Oh, I know.
That was
That's right.
impressive.
So hey,
It's like you can have a whole nother career, but you got to slow it down. I think.
Yeah, I've always
Like,
wanted to do Chip and
there's a
Dale's.
cadence there. The cadence there it has to be a little slower. I think.
right.
I'm not 100% sure, but I'm.
So hey, William, if you haven't ever watched the show, the way that Will and I kick this off is we kind of bookend the show with a mindfulness or meditation grounding practice at the beginning of the show, and then another one at the end of the show. So Will's going to lead us off on that. We both need it again after ripping our shirts off. Hey, if you're listening to this podcast, you got to come back and watch this because that was a super moment in time.
I'm not wearing pants, by the way, just so you know.
I
Oh,
do have pants on.
awesome. I'm going commando if that means anything. Okay. I'm just kidding.
All right. Hey, Will, why
right.
don't you calm us down, brother?
Okay, yeah, all right. We're all getting excited. 2 Williams and Jon and his birthday. This is a big day for us. Big day. All right, everybody. Yeah, close the eyes if you can. Ground your hands. Ground your feet. And let's just start with we're just gonna do a 5-breath refresh. That's all we're gonna do. Let's start with a nice exhale all the way out, emptying out of the mouth, and really pull your navel in and get all that breath out of your body. And take a big inhale through your nose. Feel that balloon filling bottom, middle, top of the chest, and exhale out your mouth. Good. 4 more. Big giant breath in. Keep going. Inhale. Exhale out. Good. Keep that chest open and up. Chin level. Inhale again. Exhale out. 2 more. Big giant breath. Push it out. One more in. Exhale. Let's just come back. Stay for a moment. Just a few normal breaths in and out through your nose. But really trying to create a calm and peaceful experience of the breath. It's a way of getting into that deeper, calm, cooler, connected self just by slowing the breath down, being mindful of the breath, connecting to the breath, and using the breath as a tool for our transformation into peace, into more grounding, into that deeper connection to ourselves in this moment. And keep going. So I love using the breath and creating a peaceful inner environment. So maybe the world seems like more of a peaceful place. When we come back, opening our eyes, maybe some of those micro movements. William, I don't know if you should do some laps or something, to get woken up a little more. I don't know if you need that. William's come. You're in Hawaii, right, William? Just to be clear. Is that right?
That's correct. In Hawaii. Yes, sir.
Well, I am so happy that you're joining us from so far away. So thank you for being here. And let's jump right in. Jon, go for it, man. Or I can jump in. I have a question.
I did a quick bio there, right, William? But that's your professional bio. Let's get to know you a little bit better for the audience. Why don't you give us a quick once-over of basically who you are and how you came to be right here, right now? Maybe going a little bit back into your childhood, your education, your family life, the Navy, and what you're doing since.
Sure. Let's see. So I'm originally from a little town outside of Meridian, Mississippi. I was a very poor kid, free lunches and all that good stuff. A mediocre mindset. I've kind of discovered that I had sort of this mediocre mindset, which is interesting based off the job that we had and some of the things that I'm doing now. And I didn't do that well in school, mostly because I could make all sorts of excuses. I didn't apply myself. I have ADD, which I found out later when I went to NICO later on in the Navy. I thought I was just dumb, but I always took the AP classes and things like that, mostly because that's where the pretty girls were. You gotta have
no,
it's got to be a reason for your education. So let's just make a good one. Heavily involved in the Boy Scouts. I was an Eagle Scout. Again, I was, we were poor, but the Boy Scout Association that I was a part of, I worked at the Boy Scout camp, and then there was a national jamboree, and they paid for me to go to this national jamboree. And when I was a kid, I always knew that I wanted to be part of some sort of elite military organization. Not really sure what that was. I watched, John Rambo. I watched John Wayne. He was a Green Beret in Vietnam. Chuck Norris was in a movie called Delta Force where they're shooting like rockets off of dirt bikes. That was cool.
That was cool.
I still haven't had a chance to do that yet. Yeah, exactly. So I've always had I always knew I wanted to do something like Last of the Mohicans was an awesome movie. I could never wrap my head around why guys would stand on the battlefield like Civil War style, just facing one another with muskets. I'm I want to be the guy that's off in the tree line, shooting people, kind of outflanking. And so that was always my mindset as a kid. And then I went to this national jamboree and I met this other kid who was like, yeah, I'm going to be an F-14 Tomcat pilot when I grow up. I'm going to go to the Naval Academy and I'm going to be a Navy SEAL. And I was like, oh, that's cool. What's a Navy SEAL? And he explained the whole thing to me. And I was like, yep, that's what I want to do. I came back from that jamboree. 2 weeks later, the Navy recruiter called my house and said, hey, man, have you ever thought about joining the Navy? And quite honestly, almost all of my family has been in the Navy. So I was like, hell no. I mean, that was what my internal monologue was saying. But I was like, but I want to be a Navy SEAL. Is there any way I can become a Navy SEAL and not join the Navy? Nope, that's the route you got to take. So I went down to the recruiting office. They showed me a really cheesy video. And my goal was to become a Navy SEAL, go to the Naval Academy, which I completely forgot about till right now. And become an F-14 Tomcat pilot. I got 1 out of 3, but it still was not. It wasn't an easy transition there. My grades weren't good enough to do the whole college thing in the Navy, or at least that wasn't my focus. My hearing was not good enough to become a pilot, so that was already out the window. They're like, oh, you have to I grew up shooting guns and loud lawnmowers and stuff like that. And my hearing was already terrible when I joined the Navy, and it just got worse from there. So I joined the Navy in the delayed entry program, graduated high school, went to boot camp, failed the SEAL screening test the first time I took it, went to gunner's mate A school. And I was like, well, it's winter here in Chicago. I don't really like getting up early. Clearly, I didn't even get up early for this call.
Somehow you made it.
I rolled out of bed and right into the camera. And it's cold and it's dark and it's scary. And I'm high enough ranked in the class. I'll go to this other school for 4 more months, and then I'll go to Buds. This was my thinking. I didn't talk to anyone about it. This is just kind of what I had, my plan. And so I went to Virginia Beach. I went to school to learn how to work on missile launchers for Tomahawk missiles. And I'm like, okay, I'm ready to take the screening test to go to Buds. And they're like, why? You're going to this ship in Japan. I was like, well, what if I fail out of the school? They're like, you're still going to go to that ship in Japan because that's what that's how this whole thing works. So I went to that ship in Japan for, I had 24 months of obligated service. I did the whole mess cranking thing, KP duty, and to me that was harder than Buds. 3 months of watching dishes. Yeah, go ahead.
For the audience, so mess cranking, for those who've never been in the military, that means sitting in the chow hall serving the chow, the same as KP duty. What is that? Kitchen patrol.
Kitchen patrol, washing dishes, not like dishes at your house. I mean, things that are this big. Yeah. And yeah. And it was terrible.
Would that be considered like a humbling experience? You know what I mean? Did it do that to kind of like, because I haven't been in the military. Do they give you a job like that just to kind of like, like kind of dissolve your ego a little bit, or it's just to fuck with you or something?
Do it.
No, it's just like it's got to get done. Hey, new guy, way to go. And rank has its privileges. There were guys that would show up, and I was like an E2. They would show up, and because of the school they went to, they got E4 out of their school, so they got to skip doing that stuff. The junior enlisted, they do all the hard work. So I was a junior enlisted guy, and I got to go. I was lucky enough to go get to do it, which is interesting. In the SEAL teams, we don't care what your rank is. If you're just a new guy, you're going to go do the hard stuff anyway. You're taking out the trash. You're doing all that other stuff. So, yeah, we don't care. New guy, ready to go. It's just you gotta earn your stripes more or less. So I did that. I rode on a ship. When it was time for me to, my time on the ship was nearly up. I called the guy who tells me where I'm going to go next, my detailer. John, you're on the call, so I'm like, oh yeah, I'm just going to talk Navy and right back down and use regular language. Who dictates where I go next? And he says, and I said, hey, I'm going to just let you know, this is a courtesy call. I'm being courteous to this chief or senior chief, and to let you know that I'm going to drop a package because to go become a Navy SEAL. And he was like, that's great that you want to do that. I appreciate the call, but you're not going to become a Navy SEAL. You did this. You went to the school for 4 months over here in Virginia Beach to work on that missile launcher system. That makes you too critical for me to let go. And so you're never going to go become a Navy SEAL. And I tried to use reason. I was like, well, what if I could go? What if I fail? Then you have me back. Or if you don't let me go, I'll get out. He was like, okay, get out. We'll see. And so he called my bluff. Yep. And so I continued to get like letters of recommendation, and everyone, like, people were supportive, but that one guy said, no, you're not going to go. And then one day the chief of naval operations came to my ship in Yokosuka, Japan. There was 15 or so ships in Japan. He only came to my ship in Yokosuka, Japan. And people were like, hey, you should ask him if he'll let you go to Bud's. And I was like, okay, what do I know? I'm like, and so he comes to the ship. We have a big C&O's call. This is my vision of the Navy, blah, 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 whatever. Does anyone have any questions? And so he calls on me, and I was like, I joined the Navy to become a Navy SEAL. I think I deserve a chance to go. My detailer won't let me go. He says I'm too critical. What do you think? And he turns to my commanding officer and he says, is he a good guy? My CO said, I told my CO I was going to do this. He was like, go for it, man. And back then, and John, you'll understand this. This was before, surface warfare, like enlisted guys had to get their surface warfare pin. Yeah. I was in E4 and I got my ESWAS, and but like there were chiefs that didn't have it. And so that was like, I think I was more proud of that than I was when I got my Trident. But so my CO says, yeah, he was the sailor of the quarter this quarter, which is like employee of the month for those of you who don't know what that means. It's, because I did a good job sweeping or whatever. And he turns back to me and he's
cleaning those dishes, man.
You'll be in the first class, right? Exactly. You'll be in the first class after your PRD, which is planned rotational date. 6 weeks later, I'm off to California to SEAL training. And it only took me a short 13 months to get through that 6-month block of training.
I think a lot of folks takes more than 6 months, man. But That's crazy. So basically, if the CNO had not come to the ship, chances are your career trajectory would have been completely different.
It would have been very different, yeah. Wow. I mean, I would have still figured it out, but it would have taken me longer to get there for sure.
Yeah. So then you served in the SEAL teams.
Yeah, I'm sorry, John.
Yeah. So you served in the SEAL teams for the remainder of your career. What are some of the things you did? Then once you got out, how did you get to where you are doing Naked Warrior recovering in the 5 SEAL teams?
So it's interesting. Like John, you and I share some SEAL teams. We were probably at some of the same teams at the same time and just not knowing it, just sort of crossing paths in the darkness. I started off at Steel Delivery Vehicle Team 2. I did 5 years there. I went from there and I taught sniper school for a while. I came back and I did I was actually teaching sniper school when 9/11 happened. I was the senior sniper instructor on the ground when 9/11 happened. I was a new-ish E6. I didn't know that much. And I wasn't the senior guy. I just happened to be the senior instructor. And Dave Johnston was the OIC, and he was off. They were trying to accredit the course, bring it under the center, and make it like make it official Navy course. And so he was off doing that. And so I was the senior instructor, and then 9/11 happened. And then I was like, and then guys are like, what are we going to do? What do we need to do? Turn it to me. And I'm like, bro, I don't know. I don't, like, you're more, like, they're all more senior to me. And so I called back to group 2, back to the headquarters. And I said, hey, what do we do? Do we need to go to New York and like help with the recovery, render medical aid? What do we need to do? And they said, continue training, like take the rest of the day off, continue training, because we're going to probably need those skill sets at some point. And then, after that, we started deploying to Afghanistan and then later on to Iraq. For me, I went from teaching sniper school to group 2, doing the air mobility thing, because my wife at the time wanted me to get out of the military, wanted me to be around more. And so I took shore duty. I did that. I went from there to SEAL Team 10. Actually, from shore duty, I deployed to Afghanistan in 2003. Which was great because, I got a lot of experience in close quarters combat, a lot of, kind of land warfare experience, a lot of ground mobility vehicle experience, which I didn't have coming from an SDV background. I knew how to do like 4 or 8 guys, from an SDV, and do a lot of reconnaissance, a lot of sniper stuff. We didn't do a lot of like real SEAL team stuff.
Again, William, for the audience. So the SEAL delivery vehicle, or the SDV, is what we still have them, but we're using different things now. But they're basically little submarines. It looks like a miniature submarine, but cool. You are not dry in them. You're diving in them. Inside of it is wet, and you're on oxygen. You're on a mask, or you're on some type of regulator the whole time. It's one of the few mission sets that the Navy SEALs and the Navy SEALs only do. The Special Forces, the Marine Raiders, the PJs, all the different special operations communities shoot, move, communicate, do some type of counterinsurgency, those types of missions. The SEAL delivery vehicle mission, that's the one mission that is very unique to the SEALs and the SEALs only. So real quick, sorry, just wanted to throw that out there.
Yeah, no, it's all good. And a lot of times, like when I'm on stage, I'll have a picture up there and I'll try to explain what it's like to be in the back of one of those things, where you're like, you and 3 of your best friends are like, shoulder to shoulder, and then there's a wall here, and then there's someone in your lap, and then you have a regulator in your mouth, and you're trying to breathe, and you can't communicate. The only way you can communicate is like through a squeeze, and the way you talk to the people in the front is through this little light button right here. And so I use that to kind of demonstrate, like, when I talk about shoot, move, and communicate, or multitasking, or things like that, like communication always has to be 2-way, and it has to be clear and concise and easy to understand, 3 words or less, or no words at times, in order to get your point across. So, and a lot of
using sign language.
Exactly, just to get your point across. But it comes with working together and things like that. So I did that team. Then I went to SEAL Team 10. I was a platoon chief. I was the troop chief. I was the ops senior chief there. Then I went to WARCOM, to the headquarters, and then from there I went back to SDV out of here in Hawaii. And then I retired out of the headquarters here in Hawaii, where my last job in the Navy was I was the science and technology director, where I went out and found $16 million of other people's money to solve operational deficiencies that we had here in Hawaii. I helped create things from quantum cascading lasers to different kind of inflatable technologies to underwater communication systems, where we can communicate from underwater to over the horizon in different ways like that. So that was pretty cool. Then I retired, and this was a big struggle for me, as I was in absolute denial about retiring or not being in the military anymore. I was returning emails on my BlackBerry the day before my retirement date. And I'm like other guys are like, I'm out, peace out, I'm going to go do my thing. And I'm still like doing stuff because I didn't want to leave. That's all I've ever known my entire adult life was the military. And so it was like when I stepped out of the military, it was like if you've ever seen the movie The Avengers where Thanos like snaps his fingers and half the world's population goes away. That's exactly what happened to me. That was like I say I lose, like in that instant, I lost my purpose, I lost my mission, and I lost my team. And I had a pretty badass purpose, mission, and team. It didn't matter where I was in the SEAL teams, whether I was on the team, in a platoon, at the headquarters, because I went from like bottom to top to teams across the board. And it didn't matter what my role was. I still had purpose, mission, and team. And so as soon as that day hit, I lost all of it. I was also struggling with some other things like, some not so awesome relationships, maybe some occupational stuff that was going on. And so I would pretty much just drink myself to sleep at night. Or you can phrase it a different way, drink until I passed out. Who knows really how you phrase that or frame it. And I had heard about this molecule called CBD. Let me back up just a little bit. So I got out. I started my own kind of consulting company, helping companies navigate the military acquisition system. And what I found, I was pretty good at that, and finding other people's money. $16 million is pretty good chunk of money. Yeah. And helped a lot of companies out. And so my plan was to get out, find companies that had technology that the military could use that might meet some sort of operational requirement or operational deficiency, but maybe your technology isn't quite ready for prime time. I can help get it in front of the right people, help find sponsors, and then help find money to bring it up to, really to meet an operational need or gap. And what I found is I called myself a consultant, and so many companies were like, we hate consultants. Consultants are criminals. You can suck the deck. But then they were like, but you know what? We like you. So here, we'll make a deal. You can go and sell our widget. You can go sell this thing right here. And if you sell enough of them, we'll pay you a commission.
Oh,
so
sales.
You want me to just like travel around and like meet people, and you're not going to pay me, but if they buy it, you might pay me a commission. Like, well, that's not a very good business plan. That's great for you. That doesn't work for me. So I'm like, that's not how it works. Sorry. And by the way, your widget sucks. Like, we can talk about like making it better. Anyway. So I had to I was like, I actually did okay in that world, but I didn't like the grind. I wasn't prepared for so much like negativity, like coming straight in my face, because I was used to being successful and providing value everywhere I went from the military perspective. And now I don't have that military perspective anymore. Now I'm just a regular whatever. And I guess many other guys had come before me, and they were like taking a lot of money, but not providing the value. And so, so that was, that put more baggage, gave me more baggage to carry around. And then, I had heard about this molecule called CBD, and I was afraid to try it because it comes from marijuana. And that dangerous plant out there.
Lord. The wacky weed.
and so I thought I wanted to try it. I'd heard a lot of stuff about it while I was on active duty, still before it was federally legal, and I didn't even know that at the time. But I knew I wasn't going to like risk my top secret clearance or the rest of my career to try it to like help me. And so eventually I got out. I was back in Virginia Beach, taking care of some business. I had lunch with a former teammate of mine, and I said after lunch, I was like, "Hey, I'm going to go see if I can find some CBD here in Virginia Beach, because maybe what you have in Virginia is better than what we have in Hawaii." Not knowing anything, and he was like, "If you want CBD, I've got some back at the house." So some companies gave him some bottles. He gave me a bottle, and maybe that night I slept a little bit better, and maybe I was a little less pissed off the next day. Not really sure, but I finished that bottle, not really noticing any any giant changes in my life. But when I did a little bit of looking back at where I was and who I was, is, I like to say that water boils at 212 degrees, and I was probably living my life at like 210 degrees. So it didn't take much for me to hit that boiling point. And so, but I noticed over time, I went from like 210 to 205 to 200 to 195 to 190, maybe 185. I got out of that red zone and more of kind of an orange zone. And just what I noticed is my fuse just got longer. And so And then I ran out and I started getting closer to that boiling point, and like aches and pains that I struggle with every day were like coming back more. And it was interesting. That wasn't the things that I noticed that were, I noticed that things weren't as bad, but I only noticed that when they started getting bad again. And so, and I was like, maybe CBD was like some sort of placebo thing. I have no idea. So I tried a different brand. I had similar results. I'm like, I want to be a part of this industry somehow. And so I was at a business conference. I met someone in the CBD industry, and I said, hey, I wanted her to hire me because I'm still looking for my purpose, my mission, and my team. And so, but she wasn't ready for that. She was like, so do you want to do A to B, B to B, or B to C? And I was like, I don't know what that means. I want to do C, B, D. So she was like, okay, why don't you just start your own CBD company? And I said, I don't know how to do that. She said, you are a Navy SEAL. You can figure it out. And I asked her for my man card back politely, and she gave it back to me. To never give up again, I put it back in my pocket. And so I started researching the industry. I found it's very dirty. So our mission, so I was like, okay, I'll Google how to start a CBD company. And so, so I started Naked Warrior Recovery, primary mission, highest quality CBD on the planet. I partnered with, extremely high quality suppliers. They were leading the industry in quality. The biggest names that you might see out there did not have the same quality control as the suppliers that I have. So no brainer, highest quality on the market. We're going to focus on a broad spectrum product where you still get all the minor cannabinoids and terpenes from the hemp plant, but we'll extract that little molecule called THC so that people don't have to worry about drug testing and things like that. And so that was our niche. What I thought, but then, someone said, well, what's your bigger purpose? And I was like, I don't know. I need to figure this out. And so I looked back at myself. I looked at where I came from. I looked at, my past, and I'm a veteran. And then I saw the metric that 22 veterans take their lives every single day. So our mission at Naked Warrior Recovery became 22-0. Whatever we can do, CBD was a modality that greatly impacted my life in a positive way. So like right now I use CBD as a modality for me. My dad is also one of those 22. So it became a more personal mission, not just a company mission, but a personal mission at Naked Warrior Recovery to support veterans and first responders to get this, this number from 22-0. I don't even know what it is for first responders, but I've had lots of conversations. I was on a podcast yesterday with a guy. He was like, I was on a bridge, ready to step off, and all the things, he was a firefighter, and all the things that were going through my mind. And I was like, bro, thank you for, making the right decision. And so CBD is a modality, but that's only a part of it. And so to get to the 5 SEAL secrets is this I don't know how to market. They didn't teach us that really in the SEAL teams. And so they didn't teach us how to run a business. They didn't teach us, there's so many things I didn't learn. And so invoices and all this other stuff. Should have been a supply guy. But as I'm trying to figure out how to do this marketing thing, I hired a business coach, and I've hired another coach, and several coaches along the way to help teach me how to do stuff. Because what I realized is, in the SEAL teams, if we don't know how to do something, we go hire someone to teach us how to do it. We go find the best person in the world, we hire them, they teach us how to do it, and then we apply that skill set to our tactics, techniques, and procedures. And it may affect, change the way we do business. So why am I not doing that here in the civilian world? If it worked for us over there, I mean, income was an issue also with, because, military retirement is not very much money. It's like beer money at the end of the day. And so I'm going through the, different kind of business things. I'm trying to market, my product on social media, and then, Facebook deletes 3 of my accounts before I realize that CBD is an illicit product. I'm like, what, really? So I had to become more creative in the way that I put the word out. And so what I found is podcasts is a really good, one of my coaches was like, be unrealistic in the biggest name podcast to get on. And this was probably a year and a half ago. It was 2 years ago, actually. It was right after the first time I did the swim across the Hudson River. And about 6 months later, I finally started doing it. And since then, I've been on about 350 podcasts in the last 18
Jeez.
months.
Wow.
I do it a lot. I have another one today, and I've got some coaching calls, and I got some other stuff today. So I get out there and I do that. So it's a lot of word of mouth, a lot of that. But I also had another coach, and he was just like teaching us like tactical stuff on the business side. And he, at some point he said, everyone in this, and he kept asking me, do you do coaching? I was like, no one, what do I need? What are people going to get from me? And so that started this whole other like rabbit hole that I kind of did a deep dive in, because at some point, my coach was like, everyone in this group needs to have a signature presentation. It's a presentation. It's like your TED Talk. You can do it you could get on stage and you can do it in 10 minutes, or you can do it in an hour and a half. Like, you're an expert in this thing that you're going to talk about. And so I already kind of had this get naked mindset idea out there, where I would talk about like, what get naked to me was all about, like taking off my ego, taking off this baggage that I'm carrying around, taking off this armor that I'm wearing when I go into combat every single day in my personal life, taking that off, becoming, exposing myself, becoming vulnerable, so that I can actually find the healing that I need in order to move forward in life and start to grow again, and like, uncover these festering wounds so that you can actually apply medical aid. And so, so that was the thought process behind it. And so I was like, well, why don't I turn it into an acronym? And so the way I did that is I was going to do Get Naked all as an acronym, but it came kind of long, and I couldn't shove it all into 10 minutes. So I just did Naked. And so, and because, in the military, we like our acronyms, because they tell a lot of stuff.
Just a little bit.
And so Naked. So it's like, okay, it's the way I came up with it. I was like, words that start with in, and like like, what do I want my message to be, until I crafted the message. And so, Get Naked is about taking action. But Naked stands for, the N stands for never quit. The A stands for accept failure. The K stands for kill mediocrity. The E is expose your fears, and the D is do the work. And so now every time I find an opportunity to get on stage or go speak to a company, I do that, and hopefully get paid a little bit for it as well. But I've also turned that into a, somewhat of a one-on-one coaching program that I do now for CEOs, entrepreneurs, different leaderships in organizations. And I'm going to start doing maybe some group coaching as well. Yeah.
Right on, man.
So that's how I got, it was like not a straight path to get where I am today. If you'd, like a year and a half ago, if you'd have said, hey, you're going to be coaching and you're going to be standing on stages talking about getting naked, I would have said, you've been smoking some funny stuff over there. But, like it's funny, like my entire life, never have I ever wanted to be in sales. Never have I wanted to be a public speaker, and never have I wanted to like coach people through stuff. Because I'm like, what do I have to offer? The whole imposter syndrome. Yeah. And so now that's all I want to do. All I want to do is I want to stand on stage and speak. All I want to do is coach people to get them better, so they can build their teams into, bigger, making more money along the way, improve their personal lives and their professional lives, and sell CBD to help veterans, first responders, and anyone else that's out there that is looking to get a little more control over their anxiety or pain.
Nice.
Well, congratulations for getting to this point. I mean, because you started this story. Oh, absolutely. I mean, I just feel, the passion coming out of you right now. And it took a lot, it's how long have you been out of the service?
4 years.
Yeah. Okay. So 4 years. So so it sounded like, kind of stumbled the first 2 years, and the last 2 years you started taking action, right? Which is actually part of, your acronym here, which we're going to dive into. But then it's like, and then I can feel it, right, John? I'm sure you can feel it. Everyone listening right now, you can feel the passion or the purpose. You can feel the mission. Now you have a team as well. And you're working from this place of service, trying to help people. I mean, so again, just congratulations. It's beautiful to see you make this transition, and not fall victim to, alcohol or be one of those 22, which, John and I have had other veterans on the show, and John himself, like, struggling with that transition period. coming out of the service after like decades of being in the service. It's not the easiest thing to do. So again, last time, congratulations on that. And where should we get, John? Let's, I think, why don't we, I want to break down those ingredients, but I thought it'd be nice just for our audience to talk about or to hear, like, why is vulnerability mindset and actually living it, like, why is it so powerful? And also maybe start with why is vulnerability like so scary for most people? I thought would be in your experience.
Is that for me or for John?
No, I'm sorry. That's for you. And that's for you. I'm sorry. That's for Will. Yeah, that's for our guest. Sorry.
So I think, for me, I've never, I say I grew up like kind of with a mediocre mindset, but I also had this mindset of like, I don't want to, I was picked on a lot as a kid, I think. I don't want to appear weak in any way, like mentally weak, physically weak, or anything like that. And then I joined the SEAL teams. Again, you don't want to show weakness there because they could eat you for lunch. It's also, but there's also a good part of that where you have, these young guys like me as an older senior enlisted guy. I would still try to beat the young guys in everything that we did. In part of that was holding them accountable, bringing them up to whatever level I was at. But also, if I ever slipped, they would hold me accountable very, very quickly. And so that was, I think that's a great culture to have in an organization where you're bringing one another up and you're holding one another accountable to meet the mission and meet the expectation of that everyone expects of you. And it wasn't until, and I'm not gonna say his name, but I remember there was a senior enlisted guy in the teams that was like, "Hey man, I'm struggling with some stuff, so I'm gonna go to a shrink and talk to him about it." And I was like, "You're gonna die. You're never gonna operate again. They're like gonna like take your clearance. You're screwed." And it didn't happen that way. It was, he had a very good reputation in the teams, and he was operating again. And I was like, "What happened?" And so that was my first real like glimpse into someone being vulnerable and saying, "Hey, I need help," like raising my hand. And what I found over time is it takes so much more courage and bravery to ask for help than it does to just sit there and wallow in your own mess. So it's interesting. And then, I still struggle with that. I'm much better now about asking for help or asking to come on a show or whatever. Normally I would never not really do that, but I've had to like, take my ego off a little bit and ask for help. And someone said once upon a time, I think it was on a, what's that like online? It was an app on your phone, community space. It was only audio. I forgot the name of it. You guys know
Clubhouse.
Clubhouse, yeah. So I was on a Clubhouse channel, and there was a girl that was like a mindfulness something person, and she was like, "So how do you feel when someone asks you for help, and then you can provide them value?" And I was like, "I feel pretty good." She was like, "So why are you robbing that joy from someone else helping you?" And I was like, "Dude, why do you got to be like that?"
Yeah, it's a great shift.
So it's something that I always go back to, and I think about, like, it's okay to ask for help because you're actually helping someone by asking for help.
Yeah. And you're helping yourself, and then ultimately you're going to be better for it, and the people that you work for or with, or the people that work for you are going to be better for it as well. So I mean, I don't really understand why vulnerability has always gotten such a bad rap when the benefits of it and showing it are so huge, personally, professionally, for you and for those that you surround yourself with. It's incredible what it can do.
And I think some of it also is, who do I trust? Like, there's a trust factor that goes into being vulnerable as well. Like, I'm not just going to be vulnerable to anyone. Like, I have to trust you in order for me to be vulnerable to you. And so I'm also part of an organization called Man Made, where we help men become men again. A lot of times on that kind of vulnerability side is, if you like, I think some of the thought about it is, if I show weakness, then I'm no longer a man. If I have to ask for help, I'm no longer, like, I've lost my manhood. I've lost my masculinity. And there's this whole culture out there about attacking toxic masculinity, whatever that is. I think there's just assholes out there. Masculine is an asshole. There are women who are, have a lot of masculine energy. They're not toxic. That's just the way they're wired, and that's fine. Masculinity isn't toxic, and we have to remove that whole thing. That's not masculinity. That's just assholeness. And so get rid of the assholes and have masculine and feminine, people in the world.
Right. Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit on the show. Toxic masculinity, what that is, what it isn't, and the fact that toxic masculinity, just like you said, doesn't actually exist. Masculinity exists, and then toxicity exists. Whatever that is, if you're forcing your beliefs on someone else, if it's femininity, if it's masculinity, if it's your religion, if it's your politics, if you're forcing those beliefs on someone else, that's where it becomes toxic. So I love it. Basically, if you're an asshole, you're toxic. It's not because you're masculine. It's not because you're feminine. Spot on, man. At least that's I agree with that 100%.
Well, two of the things that you mentioned, William, are what we hear very often, and a lot of the men in circles that I worked with men, are the two things. It's asking for help is a big problem for men, like a really, really big problem. And that could be there for anybody that's asking for help. As a man that's struggling to ask for help, that could be your first kind of foray into vulnerability, just saying, hey, I need help. And then the second one is just, showing no weakness or not being wrong, are things that come up typically in that I like to say hyper masculine space, where we're always like that macho kind of mindset. We're like, show no weakness, always be wrong. And then, even when you are wrong, just fight to prove that you're right, even when you're wrong. It's insane. But let's go, let's get a little deeper into your 5 ingredients, if you will. And just to go through them again. So naked, NAKED. So it's never quit, accept failure, kill mediocrity, which I really enjoy, expose your fears. And the last one is do the work. In never quit, I'm just going to quote you say, this is a part of the SEALs Creed. I will never quit. I persevere and thrive on adversity. How helpful was this mantra, going through buds and in combat, and when everything else is and seemingly kind of goes wrong, like to kind of access more of this never quit attitude. And so please, if you can fill us in a little bit.
So that SEAL Creed did not exist when I went through SEAL training. It didn't exist until we started deploying. Guys were coming back from combat. They were getting in trouble, DUIs, bar fights, whatever. And so a group of leaders, officer and enlisted, went out to San Clemente Island, and they're like, what do we stand for? What are our ingredients in the SEAL teams? And so now guys coming out of buds, they know this, by heart, verbatim. And so again, kind of when I was like looking back, like, what is my message? What do I want it to be? And I want it to resonate from my background as a SEAL, to take those lessons and share them with other people. I just went through the SEAL Creed and was like, what can I extract from there that really represents what we're talking about with these 5 SEAL secrets and getting naked? And so, but yeah, that whole never quit, everyone talks about never quitting. Everyone talks about don't quit, just keep going, whatever. No one ever tells you how to do it.
Yeah.
And so what I say is I say, take this thing that you're trying to do, whether it's whether it's a project, a program, you're starting a company, you want to get a degree, you want to whatever, create small victories. And that's the trick is to create these small victories along the way. And then, chop that thing up into bite-sized pieces, things that you can accomplish, and then attack that one thing every single day until eventually you've completed the thing, or you've gotten where you wanted to be, and you can shift and go somewhere else. And I a lot of times I equate it to Hell Week, which is 5.5 days where you're cold, you're wet, you're miserable in SEAL training. It's the most popular week of all military training. Like, I've talked to people all over the world, and they know what Hell Week is, or they have an idea, and they think that all of SEAL training is Hell Week. It's just 1 week, but it's a nonstop week. And so one thing is constant during that week is they feed you 4 times a day. No matter what, they're going to feed you 4 times a day. So it doesn't matter how much it sucks, how miserable you are, how terrible you feel, how bad your legs hurt or your lungs hurt or your head hurts from carrying that boat on your head, or you're jackhammering there in the surf zone. All you got to do is make it to that next meal. This is going to end, and I'm going to eat soon. So all you got to do is just make it to that next meal all the way through Hell Week. And so last week, with this man-made organization that I'm a part of, we climbed Grand Teton. I live at sea level. I live at sea level. That was 13,300 feet. We did it in 18 hours round trip from parking lot to summit, back to parking lot. And so when we got to altitude, I was suffering. Everyone else that was there, they live in Wyoming, so they're already they have an advantage of breathing thin air all the time. And so I'm in pretty good shape, and I was struggling. I was like, one more step. They're like up there. I'm like, I just got to make it to where they are. Okay, I just got to make it. So I was just creating those small victories. And let me tell you, that was hard. And it was hard on the way up. It was hard on the way down. And the guide that we had was a stud. Go ahead.
So I just got to put a plug in for my buddy Andy Reese, who I'm challenging in the half Iron race. He lives in Houston, which I don't know, probably 400 feet above sea level, and I live here in Colorado Springs at 7,500 feet. So Andy, this is a little plug for you, man. I'm coming for you in October.
Yeah,
Andy, breathe out of a straw when you run. Yeah, because that's what it's like. And we should talk.
Oh, he's an army guy. No, he's an army guy. We gotta,
Yeah, I'm maybe I can see the ocean, so I'm for sure at sea level. I'm above sea level, but not very much. But so that was it was like one more step, one more bend, just one more. And the guy that was it took us 18 hours. The guy that was leading us, the fastest he's done it is 5 hours, 8 minutes, and 20 seconds.
Holy cow. Round trip.
The guy has a diesel engine with a never-ending fuel tank. He drank a quart of water the whole time. I drank 2.5 gallons, filling up in little springs and stuff, and electrolytes and all this other stuff. And I'm like, he's like, man, you pee a lot. I'm like, yeah, I'm hydrating over here. I'm trying to make it through this thing. And so there was a ton of lessons just from that experience alone. And then, the next 2 days we sat down and we did something hard. And what was really cool from that is, and I'm off subject a little bit, but what was cool from that is immediately Josh, the guy who we should totally bring on the podcast. I'll make the introduction.
Yeah, please.
His dad was like, okay, what lessons did you learn? I slept 1 hour the night before. We started climbing at midnight. We finished at 6 p.m. And now we're eating dinner, and you want to talk about lessons learned. Okay, here's some lessons. And so, but it was cool. It's like a debrief. You finish AAR, you finish an op, you come back. Doesn't matter how tired you are, you do the debrief right away, and then you take care of the rest of business. We at least took a shower, and he made dinner, and we got after it. But that's really what the Never Quit is about, is just creating those small victories along the way until you get where you want to go.
Yeah, and that's a way also what I've learned is kind of managing the ego a little bit, because the ego is going to be like, oh, it's taking too long. You're gonna be really easily frustrated. You're going to be battling with your lack of patience, but having these little victories, along the way, one step at a time. I actually worked with this one particular system where instead of a 1 year goal, it's 90 days, and you can definitely manage and be more strategic and feel more satisfied working in this 90-day paradigm instead of something like a longer year. I mean, you can still work for that year, but you can chunk it and reverse engineer into 90 days, 3 months, and even getting more granular into the month, into the week. And then after that week, put all that time in, and you go back and kind of reflect on what you've accomplished, right? And it just it keeps you motivated. So I like that, these little steps, these little moments of accomplishment, just to kind of keep that mojo going and to keep yourself motivated. So awesome. I love the never quit in Naked. John, we'll go to the next one, or you want me to jump in on that?
Let's talk about accepting failure, and how important that is, that A in Naked, accepting failure. Let's
so 100%. Yeah. So like you read at the beginning of the show, failure has been the biggest teacher of my life. You can tell me how to do it, and I can go do it, and I'm not sure if that's quite right. I got to try it my way to make sure. or there's so many other ways that I failed. Failure is a good thing. I was talking to someone about this one day, and she was like, most people try to hide their failures. I put my failures on a wall, like one of these plaques. Like, there's so much failure in like the knowledge and the stuff that is going on behind me. Like, failure is what equals success. I look at failure as like creating this foundation. You have this wall that you're trying to get over. I failed. Pretty soon, the foundation is so deep, I can just hop over the wall, or it's a rung in the ladder. It's however you want to kind of think about it, whatever meme you can make out of it. Those failures, like, I am not a naturally gifted athlete. I'm not naturally smart. Nothing in my life comes from natural gifts. Like the guy that took us to the top of the mountain and back, he has natural gifts, but he also feeds into those gifts and makes them better. I got none of that. I'm just like struggle the whole time. All right, fail. Oh, dude, I did it. And people are like, oh, you like that was so easy for you. No, let me show you where I started. Like, it's been 4 years for me to get to where I am today. Failure, success. I mean, there are different levels of success. But I mean, I think it's, like, for me, kind of going back to that small victory, when you guys were like, okay, we got time for you in 3 months. I'm like, okay, awesome. Those are big, but it was like, there was so many failures along the way, but part of those failures were like, okay, another podcast, refine what you're going to say, refine how you think about stuff, be asked hard questions that you might not have the answer to make you go back and think about how you would answer that question the next time. But failure, like 100%, is by far my biggest teacher, hands down. And I think like combat swimmer, like when you dive underwater and all you have to navigate where you're going to go is a compass, a depth gauge, and a watch. The watch is to tell you how long you've been swimming in a certain direction, and you know how hard you kick. And so if you don't trust the things that the tools in your hand, you're going to fail. And so I had to fail a lot before I would actually trust that compass is telling me exactly where I need to go. Like, follow the compass. Don't do your own thing. Do the path that's set there in front of you.
Yeah, we have a saying in the teams: plan your dive and dive your plan. And that's basically have a plan and try to stick to that plan as best as possible, because very often people will get freaked out and immediately divert from the plan when they could have stuck to the plan and they would have had success. But the failure and fail and then succeed, and people just see that succeed. It always reminds me of that meme that I'm sure everyone has seen. It's like the iceberg, and the iceberg is just barely sticking out of the water, and that piece that's sticking out of the water is what everyone sees. That's the success. But everything else that iceberg is built on is underneath that water that nobody sees, and it is that failure and trying again. And that's what we've got to do. So you've got to accept failure. There's a great talk that I've listened to where it's Arnold Schwarzenegger talking about it. He's like, hey, you can't be afraid to try. You can't be afraid of failure, because if you're afraid of failure, you're not going to do anything. I love the accept failure part of Naked, NAKED.
Well, failure and success are like two sides of the same coin. I mean, you can't have success without failing, right? And you can't fail. Right. If you fail enough, and you keep showing up. And I think what's really key, what you're saying, William and John, you got to learn. You got to go back and reflect. Like, how can I do things better? Like, and take all that. Like, I've embarrassed myself tremendously throughout my life, in order to have the experience, kind of have a trial by fire kind of way of doing things. Because I knew, like, as I get through that fire and on the other side, I knew it can never get as worse than that. And I just kept stepping up, like you said, and getting better and growing.
It will.
You also, what's that?
Quick, we got a note here from William. He's got to jump on another call, so we're gonna have to wrap it up. But all right, hey, no worries. William, we could let you go, and me and Will would continue talking. But awesome. Thanks so much for coming on the show, man. I really appreciate
like I said, thanks so much. I'm sorry I have to jump off. It's a coaching call. It's a client. And I'm like,
man, no worries.
I'm running behind, and so I've already kind of but I'm having a great time here. If he doesn't show up, I'll try to jump back on.
All right, we'll still be here.
No worries.
All right, awesome.
Thanks, Will.
All right, man.
Appreciate your time.
If I can figure out how to leave.
Yeah, I do. I have the same problem.
I'll take